Warning: this show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewers' discretion is advised. This show may contain strong language and sensitive or controversial topics. We are not attorneys and are not providing legal advice. The views and conversations are our own thoughts and feelings, and therefore, purely speculation.
The entertainment world and beyond.
Skywalker, air miles, feeding on a surface, glide on water, constricted and conflicted.
Welcome to Purely Speculation, a show that exposes the harmful effects of the criminal legal system. I'm your host, Heather Lewis, the Executive Director of the Reuniting Family Bail Fund and practitioner of participatory defense. On this show, you learn about the unspoken horrors of the criminal justice system and meet fierce allies and advocates. We will make the best of our traumatic experiences. We will get angry. We may even cry. We most certainly going to laugh, but one thing's for sure, we're going to keep it real. Welcome to Purely Speculation.
When they free my sins and let them loose, they was killing me, I got a scar to prove, got me paralyzed, I could even barely move. Out the way I took the pain again.
Hey. Welcome to episode 7 or volume 7 of the Court Watchers edition of Purely Speculation. Like, we getting it, y'all. Like, we just going to keep going and going and going. We've been at this 7 months now, and I'm so truly grateful to Scotty and Taria, who is holding it down in the courts, our veteran court watchers. We are making history tonight for a couple of reasons. But I was just informed, like, this is the first time we've ever had a guest on the Court Watchers edition, right? It's usually just us and we busting it up about some cases, but this case was like close to home and we all kind of knew the people involved, and it was great. And then it like turned out like crazy. And so let me introduce my girl, my friend, Marlena Green, who her loved one, Marlena, who is the girlfriend of the kidnapped defendant, Tyrone. And we want to talk to her because actually, I mean, she's a guest, but she was in the courtroom, right? This is your loved one. You were there. You saw it. So just like Taria was there, she saw it. You saw it. Scotty and I weren't there. So we heard the story. And it started out like with this great outcome, right? But the outcome that you should have gotten is not what's happening. So tell us a little bit about some of the backstory to history and what led y'all up to the court case that was the trial last week.
Okay, so Tyrone was currently home on parole. So, with that comes stipulations. You can't do this, can't violate. The system is designed actually for them to go back for the littlest thing. So what started over a parking spot issue in front of Duke's Barbecue, pulling up, to get food for me, turned into a nightmare. So he pulled up to owner of the house next door in a shared driveway that he shares with Duke's, came out belligerent, cursing because I guess he was fed up to this point with Duke's Barbecue, and he took it out on Tyrone. So because of this and all the lies that he has told police, but I still think police egged him on a little bit because of their relationship with Tyrone in previous years. Came to a point that they said he had a firearm. He beat the guy up. The guy's like 100 pounds soaking wet compared to how big Tyrone is. But he had no marks, no nothing. So we come to this where Tyrone now has been, he's still incarcerated, but he was incarcerated for this incident for a year. It took us a year to get to trial. We get to trial, and the guy even said on stand in front of my kid, this man should be sitting here today. I should have killed him on stand. And
oh my God,
we couldn't believe what was going on in the courtroom. Like, he literally was confessing that he was the aggressor. We heard the 911 call. He was the aggressor. We seen the video. He was the aggressor. What he said that happened in 30 minutes happened in less than 12 minutes from Tyrone parking to Tyrone leaving the situation. So we heard him on the video saying, "Oh, get my shit, talking about his gun." He admitted that that's what he was talking about. So when he said that he should have killed him, he said, I blacked out and went to deadly mode, is what he said on stand. So within 13 minutes, the verdict came back and found him not guilty of 6.
Let me pause you
Mind
right there, because you said something. You said something that I don't want to let slip by without us really highlighting what you just said. And for the first time, like you said, I want to say in Montgomery County history, a jury came back with a not guilty verdict in 13 minutes. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the criminal legal system in Montgomery County. 13 minutes they came back. And that's a point too, because I'm writing as you're talking, and it's like, why did the DA even prosecute this case? All the evidence showed that
because of who the name
he said because they lied.
Because they lied, because they just was trying to put anything on Tyrone. So it was like, well, we'll keep pushing it. We'll make you sit here until they offer him a deal. They offer him 4 years. They gave him a 4 to 8. He said, absolutely not. The day of, and Taria was there, they offered him time served, a year probation. He said absolutely not. They even went as far as to call the parole officer to say, well, what kind of violation would this be if he takes this deal? He said, it doesn't matter. I'm not taking it. They kept forcing and saying, take the deal. No, he did not take the deal because he knew he did nothing wrong. So we went on, had trial, not guilty in less than 13 minutes. And let me be very clear about the jury. There was only 2 Black people on this jury that were females. The rest of the jury were class women. There was men on there. I want to say maybe about 4 were males. 1 was older. And the rest of them probably was in their early 40s, late 50s, maybe. And the whole time, they're rolling their eyes at the DA while she's up there. And it's not the Black women that are rolling their eyes. It's literally the older white woman in the corner. The 60-year-old white woman at the top, rolling her eyes, putting her head down. Like, are we really
like she can't believe this shit?
She's like, did I miss work today? Because this is weird. A not static. And it turned
oh shoot,
the worst in 24 hours. He was kicked by the
We're missing the best part.
right.
Oh, I gotta repeat it.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is breaking up. Or you're
Is it mine?
Yes. Yeah, you're the one. You're glitching.
I'm sorry. So, so it turned around within 24 hours for the worst. He was actually kidnapped by the state. So he's in state custody right now.
Right. So a man that was found not guilty in under 13 minutes is still incarcerated, and actually not just incarcerated, sent upstate. So it's not like he's just sitting here at the county. They literally next morning, drove him 5 hours away without any paperwork. Like, how does that happen? Scotty, like, can you weigh in on how does somebody get transferred to a state facility without any paperwork?
I've never heard of it. Even when I'm waiting in jail, trying to get a transfer, I'm waiting in jail to be transferred. Okay. Right. It takes at least 40 to 50 days to get papers to go upstate. They send you to Camp Hill or somewhere in between time upstate, but you do not go to a home jail, okay, in one day. They don't drive you directly to a jail, supposedly for security reasons. But to take him out of the county and drive him right to a state jail is unheard of. But we know here in Montgomery County, they can make happen whatever they want to happen. They make the law to break the law.
Exactly. And I believe that's what happened. I called because the PO was telling me, okay, we're going to do the paperwork, but give me 48 hours, which I still thought was like, okay, whatever.
Right. You're going to max out. You know what I mean? They can give you up to 48 hours. They're going to max that out.
Give you 48 hours to do the paperwork, but you couldn't do, but with no paperwork, you went upstate. So I do that paperwork.
Exactly. So I said, okay, 48 hours, fine. I call in because when I talked to records at Montgomery County, they were saying that he was listed as a violator. And I said, what? I said he didn't violate anything. So I said, well, let me call the attorney. So I called our attorney, Michael Walker, which I will do for him. He did a wonderful job in this case. So I called Mike and he was like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, they're saying that he's down as a violator. So Mike went over to the courthouse. Here, the lady had put the paperwork in wrong and had put him in as a violator. So she fixed it that day and they sent it up to the prison to fix it. I called back to the prison because they sent me a copy as well on email. I called to the prison and I said, hey, she hit the wrong box. They corrected it. He said, oh, yeah, I got the paperwork. I see it was corrected. He was like, but we have a ride for him. I said, a ride? I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, oh, he's getting picked up. He has a pickup date. I said, well, I would be the only person picking him up. So what are you talking about? Right. He was like, no, he violated parole. So he's going back upstate. I said, whoa, wait. I said, they just fixed the paperwork. He said, I understand what you're saying. It has nothing to do with this paperwork. So I'm blowing his parole officer up at this point. No answer, sending all types of messages. I finally get him on the phone the next day. It was like, Marlena, I just did the paperwork. He should be released within 24, 48 hours. I said, sir, they took Tyrone upstate. He said, what? I said, he's upstate. He was like, that's impossible. I said, that's what I was texting you about. He said, I read your text message, but I just thought you was just like trying to rush me. I said, no, he's upstate. He said, let me call you back. He calls me back in 3 hours and said that was a mistake. He should have I never even submitted paperwork for him. Okay, so if you didn't submit paperwork, who submitted paperwork for him to go upstate?
That's right, because you need paperwork to enter the jail. You need paperwork. They're not going to take you at the jail. I don't care who you are, convicted, whatever. They need paperwork to enter you into the jail, into the system.
So who did
the
paperwork?
How do you go upstate with no paperwork?
And can I say something real fast? Actually, that was a quick transfer because like Scotty said, that everybody that we know that has had court hearings and cases after trial, a guilty plea, a not guilty plea, it takes about a window of 60 to 90 days before they even get on a state bus.
Right. And other things, PSIs and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like, stuff needs to be done. And so my question too, Marlena, because if he said he has a transfer date, do you think that they just assumed that he'd be found guilty and they had this all set up? Because like Scotty said, this can't happen without paperwork. So in anticipation of him being found guilty and or violating, that they just had this ready to get him up out of here?
Yeah, but it had to come from Montgomery County because he's not even on parole in Montgomery County. So it's not like they would know who his parole officer is because he's not paroled in Montgomery County. Right. And the parole officer he had moved. So 5 months into him being locked up, we have a relationship with him. He's been his parole officer since he's been home. Right. So I can call, he knew everything that was going on with the case. He also told him to stay out of Montgomery County because he feels as though Montgomery County is trying to set him up by any means necessary to get him in trouble. So, you know, he had I guess when you work in certain areas, they knew the addresses of the places that he worked at. So they knew where he would be in the county if he was out here. And it was one of the things where his PO was like, you have to think about maybe not working in Montgomery County because they're going to do everything to try to finally get you on something. I mean, this is our 12th case with Montgomery County that he has been found not guilty of. He's had 13 cases, 1 loss. The rest of them he has won. So he was like, they're trying any and everything to convict you of something. So try your best to not be around that town. But of course, over a parking spot, this has happened. I think it was something inside with Montgomery County. I do. It couldn't be because he, again, is not a parole officer in Montgomery County that had him.
Why do they hate him so much? Why do they want to throw him under the jail? Like, why are they trying to, you know, do this?
I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot of juvenile stuff. So a lot of the officers are the same officers when he was a juvenile, just doing whatever he was doing when he was a juvenile. So they're still holding him to the past of being this juvenile that was just destructive or to them destructive. But did anybody ever stop to ask or see what was wrong with this kid at this age when he was 13 and 14, just acting up? Right. So Officer Leeds, he knows him very well. He's known him since he was younger. His main focus is to get Tyrone in jail. So that's what he focuses time on. He sees him, they pull him over. Why do you drive this? Why are you doing this? What's going on with this? They have a lot of questions. And it's just like, he doesn't have any drug charges. Like, so that's not what he's into. So he's still like picking the bear. Like, you're always picking somebody.
Right.
My own car searched because of him, to the point that they have taken apart and broken seats in my car. And I go pick my car up, like, well, why was my car even taken? Because we felt like it. Oh, I can hold your car up to 4 or 5 days if I feel like it. I'm not giving you your car back. I mean, I have video footage of me arguing with them down at the police station to the point Zion, my nephew, had drove me down to the police station. They pulled a gun out and surrounded Zion's car, saying, oh, we want to know if Tyrone is in this car. We had the baby in the car. I have video footage of this. This is Norristown Police Department.
What? Well, let me tell you this and narrate this to you. When I lived on Willow Street in Norristown, somebody told the cops that T-Man was at my house. They came in, so back in them came in, they kicked in my door, they searched my whole house, they went into my child's diaper, went into my baby's bassinet, went into the diaper and said he is known to have guns and he would put them up a baby's behind. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, they just picked
and outside of this show, like something needs like that's just such a gross violation of someone's human rights. And yes, Mr. Ramsey, this is deep. Now, you know, I cuss and we have a segment that's going to say exactly what it is. But yeah, like this is, I'm speechless.
It's really deep. Even when he was arrested this time, which is going to come out, and I'm going to say it, he was surrounded by a SWAT unit of 50 to 60 officers. They shot him with the taser 8 times. He didn't have a gun on him. He was walking to the car. They shot him. He has marks still in his body. They held him in Upper Marion for a few days without a phone call and never took him to get any type of care. He went to Montgomery County Prison with holes and stuff in his jeans and his drawers. They did not care.
This is
He kept asking for medical attention because he said his body kept getting the shakes, but they shot him so many times.
Wow.
Then when we asked for the body cam footage of that, it takes time to get it released.
Yeah, but see, that's the game they play. And what usually happens is they think they'll hold you back as long as they can. And then people usually get scared or feel intimidated of what the situation is, thinking maybe I did do something wrong that I'm not aware of, or they might have a charge that they can charge them something, a statute that they can charge me with. So I don't want to push this. So that's how they usually get off the hook when they do these things. But they do a lot of things that they feel is like he told you, because I can. And what happens is, the good old boys are these guys who we used to take their lunch money, okay, and make punks out of them. Now they got a badge and a gun. Now they want to take our lunch money. So this is their way of paying us back, so to speak. But what they do is they come in our neighborhoods and play the despacito. They do not come in our neighborhoods to give us a fair shake. Not all of them, but a lot of them who carry this baggage about who they were and what was done to them. And if you check the police force, okay, 70% of them don't even live in our town that you're policing. They come in, they get paid, they take Norristown wages and take them to Pottstown, Upper Marion, wherever they live, and we don't see those monies again. So they don't care how they treat us as long as they get paid. That's my point.
I remember out of college, I worked for the Youth Detention Center. And, everyone kind of sticks together who's in like probation, parole, corrections. Like everyone has to see each other. And I'll never forget this. The guys were standing around and, the kids was in there, but a lot of them I knew because they was from Norristown. And this one particular counselor made a comment to one of the officers and was like, yeah, you know how we got to tame the monkeys in Norristown.
Oh my goodness. See, we've been doing this a long time, and this is just me being I say naive and maybe just the eternal optimist and really wanting to see the good in people and thinking that things, are different and they can't be, what we think it is and the stuff that we see in the movies, like that's exaggerated for the movies, but this is a real life shit. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's bad.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
I remember going to college and like saying how I wanted to change, and this is why I got my degree in criminal justice. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to law school. Like I'm doing all this stuff. Like I was in on it, right? Once I started working and realized, I was like, oh my gosh, everything that I worked so hard for, it doesn't matter because every higher up doesn't look like me. They're not from where I'm from. And I'm going to have to work 10 times harder to try to even get in that position to even try a little change. Like, so this is why we have PA Woman Rise that we started. This is why we were marching. This is why I have a voice. This is why I don't mind speaking out about it. Or I don't mind going after the corrupt individuals because they're really taking our men from us. Like, and they're in prison and they're staying there and it's not a chance. So what if Tyrone didn't have an advocate? What would happen if he didn't have an advocate? Because let me tell you, it's 9 other guys right now that don't have a me. So they have to stay there because nobody knows how to work through the system. So I made a lot of phone calls that Friday, trying to figure out what was going on with that Thursday and Friday. I had one guy call me back from probation and parole, and I got him on the phone. He giggled and said, "Don't you hate the DOC?" And I said, "Well, what's that mean? Because I really don't find anything funny." And he said, "Well, they do whatever they want to do there. If it takes 4 to 10 days to process somebody, that's how long it's going to take. And I said, well, if a person just was sent there and then the next day you're getting paperwork from his PO saying this was a mistake, and to release this person, what amount of paperwork do you even have on this person that was there for 24 hours?
Right.
I said all that to say that Tyrone is still incarcerated. He's still kidnapped in my eyes.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like kidnapping to me.
He's still kidnapped and he's still in their custody, and I'm still fighting to figure out what the problem is because nobody wants to say anything. I've called up to the prison. I've been hung up on twice. We'll get to it when we get to it, is their attitude. I had one, because I was just dialing extensions at this point.
Right.
I had one unit CO who sent an email for me and told me, here's my extension. Call me back in an hour. I called him back in an hour and he said, listen, I did everything that I could possibly do. It's above my pay grade. They told me to mind my business, and you'll hear from him when you hear from him. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier. You know, they break the law to make the law. Mm-hmm. What they do is they put things in place and the underlings have to follow their lead. Now there's, you know, and I know that if he was supposed to be set free, there's no way in the world he would be on a bus. But because of him beating the county so many times, him having so many interactions with the county, we're going to show this nigga what it's really all about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you get him upstate, then, you know, you're talking, you're calling, you're bugging us, you're bothering us. We'll show you what it really is. We'll show you where his paperwork is, and so on and so forth. They do the same thing in the feds, but they call it diesel therapy. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they come, unlock your cell, tell you to pack your stuff up. And I'm here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. By 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm in Florida. But I'm in a cell. I don't know where I'm at. They got a blackout cell that they put you in, and you don't come out of that cell for at least 30 days. Your people don't know where you're at. So this is Montgomery County's way of blacking you out.
Well,
go ahead, Taria.
Well, Marlena failed to say one big piece to why T-Man probably is being targeted now by Montgomery County, because, you know, a couple years ago, T-Man had a big case in Philadelphia, a gun case, and he did a Bill Cosby, and the Supreme Court overturned his charges. So he came home off of that 8 to 16 years that they gave him. So, you know, he's one in another history to come back off of 3 years he set, and then he came home and got exonerated from the charges.
Right.
So that, you know, when they look in them histories, they don't like that kind of stuff. They don't like to lose.
Right. You know, they don't like to see us win. and to Scotty and Marlena's point, and thanks Tia for tuning in and joining us, because she's blowing up the chat like she's and Mr. Ramsey, we appreciate y'all. So continue to send your questions, comments, anything, like and share the show so that this information can get out to folks. Like Tia said, this is real life stuff. This is our lives. And she said our uncles, brothers, and sisters, cousins, our sons, they're doing this to children also. But that's such a under the cloak system, right? When you're talking about juveniles and things like that, that's not something that we have access to readily as the public. So we have to know that they're doing this in public with our grown men. They're also doing it to our children. But like Marlena and Taria said, like, if you don't have an advocate, and Marlena, you went to school, like you're college graduate, but you failed to you're working. Like you had to take off from work. You had to spend time. Like you have to have the resources to make these phone calls, the mental capacity. You know what I mean? And some people are so traumatized even before they get to that point to be able to do what you did. Like what you did and have been doing is like superhuman. Like we're a team. Like we got folks that are, you know what I mean, in certain spaces and doing things like to kind of help it because this shit is so fucking big. Like it's just ridiculous. And you have been doing this.
And here's
yourself.
another thing. There's families that can't even afford the amount of phone calls that have been put in to me and us discussing this case over the phone. There's days that I'm spending $100 and $150 a day. So there's things that our kids are missing out on because we're trying to fight to get this case done. There's just like, all right, well, everybody knows I like to travel. I haven't traveled since he's been gone. So I'm missing me going out of the country having a great time because this is important. So all this is being missed. So you have to put your life on hold because now, of course, you hire an attorney, but your best attorney and advocate is always yourself. If you don't know what you're getting yourself into, if you're not reading these case laws, if you're not reading the law, you're just going to be sitting next to the attorney and letting the attorney say whatever. But if you know what you're talking about and you know the truth behind it, you have to prepare yourself for that stuff. So this person, Tyrone, is not a stupid person, far from it. Like very smart. I remember being in a courtroom before and the judge in Philly turned around and said to him, I'm trying to figure out why you're not the attorney versus him being your attorney, because she knew how smart he was. But the thing is, you're still holding somebody to their juvenile, whatever they did when they was 13, 14, or whatever else you think they may have done, and you're holding that to them. Then on top of that, I want to piggyback off of what you said about the kids. I've witnessed it in Norristown School District of why my kid is not there. That prison to pipeline is real. The classroom sizes are too big. So you rather just say a kid is having issues, but not getting to the root of the problem, what the issue is. From kindergarten to fourth grade, never had an issue. Soon as fifth grade came and this teacher was overwhelmed, she had an issue with my kid. And I'm like, something is wrong because we've never had a problem here. She trying to suspend my kid, trying to write my kid up, all types of things. So I called them out on that prison pipeline system. What you will not do is start this record and say my son is he has detention, because they have a record that they keep that they don't want to tell the truth about, that they have, and it carries with our kids. I said, man, won't y'all get him tested for gifted? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's in the wrong classes. Wouldn't test my son, wouldn't do anything. I stand before you now to tell you my son is in honors and AP classes because I had to leave the district.
Yep.
Because nobody wanted to listen when I'm saying, no, the problem is the classroom setting. It's not my child. But you wanted to bring all these behaviors on my kid. And that is the problem. When parents don't advocate for their kids, when you don't advocate for your loved ones, they get pushed through the system like it's nothing.
Right.
So I encourage parents, I encourage whomever has a Black male to be that advocate and to like really stay on top of what they're doing and what's going on around them and their surroundings. Only we can save each other.
Right.
At this point.
We say that all the time. We got to do it ourselves.
Because I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. This system has failed in so many ways when it comes to our community. I like, it leaves you shocked of what happens to us. I've seen something online where white women are telling their kids to run to, if they're ever taken or lost, to run to the biggest Black man.
I seen that. Yes, I've seen that. Yep. Find a Black man.
So the guy came out with the facts that basically like 84 to 87% of our men are actually in jail. And then how only like a certain amount of them are white, but the ones that are in there are the ones that are the pedophiles. Like they're the ones doing stuff to kids. So the fact that white women are more safe with their kids being with Black men because they know our men are not doing this to these kids.
Right.
That doesn't bring a red flag to somebody to say, okay, something is missing here.
I actually thought that she figured that a cop would come if it was a black man to save a kid.
Right.
You find a black man, you know a cop's coming. You gonna be all right, baby.
You might have a point with that too, though, Heather.
I wasn't. I like your version better. I definitely like your version better.
Oh, see, I didn't even think about it that way, but you might be onto something.
But here's the problem.
It's terrible.
Here's the problem that we have. They start putting police. I'm in my 70s. When we had a little schoolyard fight, and you go to the principal's office, he says, okay, Joe, you sit over there. Bob, you sit over there. You sit there for a half hour, 45 minutes. He tell you, okay, you calm down. We don't want this problem no more. Joe and Bob go out in the schoolyard, start playing basketball or football together. It's all forgotten. Now, with police in our schools who are there and trained, follow me, trained to pick out who's next for that pipeline that we just got done talking about. They are handcuffing and locking up our 9 and 10-year-old sons.
Yes,
and it's got to the point now where they feel so comfortable doing what they do because they see that the county and the state back them up. Now they're going after our daughters. So now we're going to really have a big problem. Because before it's over with, this slave system that they're running, and that's exactly what it is a slave system. They send you upstate, you work for 10 cents an hour, how many hours they want you to work, and if you don't work, you go into the hole. So it's definitely a slave system. You make a shirt for an hour for $10 that they sell outside big man products, okay, for $25. So it's definitely a slave system. But to be handcuffing and sending these kids out there to Port Indian Road at 9, 10 years old, and your parents have no say.
Right.
And the problem with that started back when my kids are in their 40s, started with my kids. Oh, you can't hit your kid. Oh, you can't punish them. Oh, you can't make them stay in a room. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's up to us. We'll lock you up. And that's what started the seed to where we're at now, the way they can do our kids. Because we couldn't handle our kids. We can't hit them, but you can beat my kid to death with a doggone nightstick. You can tase my kid, electrocute him. But I could not do the things that were needed to do to keep him on the straight and narrow. When we were coming up, I finally go get me a switch. And if it was grandma, you didn't want grandma, but she said, go get me that electric cord. So you know that these things started back then to precipitate what's happening now, because you got to keep them good old boys with a job. So it's prison. It's my brother has a job as a guard. My uncle has a guard. Everybody is in the system. Everybody's taken care of on our back. So it's definitely a slave system.
Yeah.
But we have to do like we keep saying. The reason why, this was even started so that people know what your rights are, what they can do to you and what they can do to you. And it's been documented. It's been seen all over that they do what they want to do. I don't care what that rule says that we should know, but we do what we want to do. You get in it and we'll fix it later. But we got you now. And this is what they're doing. Okay. They having, we got you. And I'll let you go when we get ready. And we have to find a way together and stop doing these things individually because safety in numbers that we can make a change. We're not going to make a change just me. We need everybody to come.
It needs systemic. It's the system that needs change.
What you're doing to your kids and to us as Black men.
Yep.
So that participatory defense that we do is a starting point.
Yes.
But we need more people to buy into what that system is like instead of buying into what this Montgomery County system is like.
And individuality and all of that. Like, it's the participatory defense is collective knowledge. It's shared. That's what we're doing here. Right. You were there. Like, we all know. And it's like, okay, everybody's got a perspective. Everybody sees something and hears something. So, you know what I mean? We're hearing and listening what's going on. And maybe we can share these notes or share this information with the defense team, because maybe they're focused on doing something, you know, they have their job to do, but we're in there hearing and seeing all this other stuff going on around them that they may not have the purview to see and hear. And so this model also, we use it with education. We use it with healthcare. We use it with our mental health, our housing, employment, all of those things, because we talk about this all the time. Like these systems are smoke and mirrors, right? The system they were chopping at the bit, literally, like right before the trial starts. Oh, you take this deal, take this deal, take this deal. Why? Because one, they wanted that check mark. They want to keep their 98% conviction rate, and it's a conviction rate, not a trial win, right? It's a conviction rate, so that the conviction can come with a plea deal. That's a conviction. So when people fight back and take their cases to trial, they don't want to go to trial. Right. The DA doesn't want to go to trial.
Right. There you
go. They don't want you to go to trial. And people are so scared that they're like, oh, well, you know, and they do, like, because if it don't go your way, they roof you. You know, we call it trial tax. You know what I mean? They throw the book at you and stick you under the jail. Right. And so in Montgomery County, people are scared to rumble with that 12. Right. And so I'm thankful and very proud of Tyrone for taking that chance and standing on his truth, because even if it's the truth, it doesn't always work out that way. And thankfully, even though that jury did not represent him equally, at least they had sense. That jury saw what was happening, saw what the DA was doing, saw the coercion with the police and their witness and all of that, the alleged victim. They saw through all of that. I would love to talk to them jurors and get their perspective of tax dollars, the DA who swears, you know, they only prosecute cases that have evidence, and clearly all the evidence was against prosecuting this case, but yet they move forward anyway. He swears up and down. I'm talking about Kevin Steele. He swears up and down that his DAs are honorable and they uphold the oath and all that bullshit. They don't. You clearly, and it's not just because he won his case. That shouldn't have been a fucking case. That should not have been a thing at all.
And the biggest thing,
use the power, all of them, from the police officers all the way up to the DA.
And going back to us as Black folks, okay, Black and brown folks that live here in Montgomery County, we have to stop running from jury duty. Because what happens is we'll never get a jury of our peer. And so this is not going to do anything but keep rolling over and rolling over and rolling over till we realize that we have to set the tone for this. You don't have to worry about your taxes. You don't have to worry about whether you got a warrant or whatever when you do this, because they can't touch you. If you're doing that, they can't touch you. You have to come and sit, because don't take anything for granted. It's me today. It might be your husband or your son tomorrow. So we need everybody to think about what these situations are for us as Black and brown people.
Right. I will have to say that I walked away saying to myself, I've never received anything for jury duty ever in the mail. But in that moment, I'm waiting for something to come in, because we need to start making sure that we go to jury duty.
That's a whole nother conversation. Like, yes. It's crazy.
And in the courtroom for jury duty, there were only 6 African Americans, and that was it. It was one African American male, and the 4 were women, and 5. So he was all the way at the end, so he never was going to get picked. And I feel like it's a strategy thing with them. He was more probably like he was 35, you know, he was all the way at the end. So they weren't even going to strike all those. They was going to have a jury before it even got to him. But why was he so far back at the end? Like, what was, like, how did y'all line up? Like, I'm curious to know how that whole process works. And keep in mind that this jury didn't even wait for the free meal. They wanted to go home.
Like, I'm out.
They never got a
fuck you.
They didn't take the free meal. They left.
So there's so much going on. Like, this is just an incredible conversation. T is killing it in the comments. Like, we're getting it. And so so Marlena, you definitely have to come back. So everybody know that, this is not over. Marlena will be back, and maybe Tyrone might want to hop on with her when he's free, when his kidnappers release him. They didn't even ask for a ransom. They just hold me. They ain't even asked for a ransom.
Anything. They said they just got him. They'll get to it when they feel like it.
Right. So when you get your man back, we're going to have y'all back on, even if it's a special episode or whatever. We'd love to have you come back and share that and get, Tyrone's perspective and we all know that this is traumatizing. Like, he might be this big, strong man, but nobody deserves that. Nobody needs to be violated. The trust that's happening, it's just the secondary trauma that you're experiencing, your family, like everyone, the trauma that we're experiencing right now, hearing this, and we knew some of it, and like me, this shit fucks me up all the time. Every time I hear something, I'm just like, this can't be. This just can't be. And so we're definitely gonna have you back. But we do have a segment called What the Fuck. And so since you weren't you're a guest, but we never did this for a Court Watch edition. We do have What the Fuck for a Court Watch edition. But since you're our guest, we didn't get to kind of cue you up in advance to have a What the Fuck moment. I think you shared a bunch. But if there's any one in particular that stands out for you, maybe one that you hadn't shared yet, what would be your What the Fuck moment, either in the system or with this particular case or anything? And sometimes What the Fuck can be like, oh shit, what the fuck, I just won the lottery. Like,
So my What the Fuck moment basically is the whole North Sound Police Department. What the fuck? The whole department. What the fuck?
Right. That's crazy.
And that's not even going into details. That could be a whole nother thing if y'all ever want to call me, because it's a lot that I do have to say about the police department. This was just a small fraction of what happened, but if y'all knew everything else, y'all would be like, it's a lot. What the fuck?
We're gonna have a series, Marlena and Tyrone. We're gonna have to do a whole series on that. It's gonna be a mini docu-series. Oh,
now I hear the door.
T said I have about 3,000 what the fuck moments in 7 a day. I love it. This is so Scotty, do you have one? I think we lost Taria. Do you have a what the fuck moment?
Yes. What the fuck do we have to do for us to wake up and realize that we need a village again? Stop being stranded on an island. We need a village again. We need people to come out. We need people to support our work. We need people to know that what we do is for you. It's not for us. I've been through it. It's not for us. What we do is for you and your families. So we need help. Help us.
I beat people's kids. I cuss them out. I don't come on my block because you out here cussing and carrying on. You 13, 14 years old. Don't bring that in front of my house. Like I talk to them, school them, but I tell them to keep it real with them. And, parents will get mad and say, oh, don't be young. Don't be talking like that to my kid. Well, why is your kid talking like that? Like,
why are you telling that at home?
Right. So we have to be courageous in all things, and all things be courageous. So, it's hard, but you're absolutely right. We have to get back to being a village. We have to start trusting each other as parents, that I'm not going to lie on your kid. Like, you have to have some discernment, but you know what I mean? If I come to you telling you about your child, you got to believe I'm an adult. I'm not going to lie on your kid. You know what I mean? Some respectable, there's crazy folks out there, of course, but for the most, and your kid. And or you're a grown person too. You know your ex or whomever is crazy and probably did whatever the hell they've been accused of. Like, just we have to get our heads out of the sand and stop acting like our kids are fucking innocent or our people like we don't do dumb shit, because we do. But you also have to do better. We have to hold each other accountable and do better. Like, we just can't keep doing the same old dumb shit. So,
was that your what the fuck moment?
I don't know. I just be losing it. I just losing it. That can be it.
I just wanted to
stop acting like we ain't stupid sometimes. You know what I mean?
Listen, and I know it's ending, but I would have to say that I'm a product of my village, and Scotty was one of them. I babysat for him when I was like 14, 15, and I would have to say that in those moments, those were men that I looked up to when my dad dying. Like, I can go to Scotty, I can go to neighborhood guys that really made sure that the younger ones, we were okay. I wasn't getting in trouble because I was at his house almost every weekend babysitting. So I had no reason to get in trouble or do anything, because they kept me, gave me money, made sure I watched the kids, and that was it. It was something to do. So we got away from all that it was okay to go over this person's house, so you can do this, so you stayed out of trouble. We got to get back to family being family, all of us one unit, because at one point, Norristown was a family. You knew everybody. I don't know nobody in this town.
Right.
So we do have to get back there. But I wanted to say that I am a product of being raised by a village. So thanks, Scotty, for making sure I stayed out of trouble.
Hey, we still love you.
And you know what? And that's sad that you had to leave your town to make sure that your son was safe and getting a proper education, because Norristown School did the education and curriculum. Like, we could keep talking and talking and talking, right? The curriculum is good. It's award winning. Yeah. We don't have teachers and administrators that look like us, that look like our community. That's a problem. School board, that is a problem.
I was just getting ready to say the problem is our school board.
Of course. Of course. But our community needs to start coming out and looking out for each other and stop looking out for self. Because if you're not leading it, you don't want to be a part of it. Like, that's some bullshit. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be the chief, and some people don't want the responsibility of doing the hard work. Well, somebody got to, but you got a part to play. Let's get it. So I'll end on that before we go on and on and on. And Zach will start texting me, talk about shut the fuck up and get off.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Marlena, it was a pleasure. And yes, we will do it again, and we can do it on other topics. And so I'm going to put this out there to folks too. Like, so Marlena was she's going to kick it off. Like, if you have a family member or loved one that is going through a court case or trial or whatever, and you want to share, or some shit's going wrong or it's fucked up, like, let us know. Let us amplify your message so that other people can come together and share. You don't have to do this alone. It's traumatizing and isolating enough. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to feel shame. We've all been through it and had some contact. You know what I mean? So please share this with your network. Please hold elected officials accountable. All right, David Murray. And so yeah, like it's just there's so many people that need to be held accountable, and we need to find the courage to start speaking up and doing something about it. So Marlena, I appreciate you. I love you. Scotty, thank you so much for your insight.
But most important, not to knock you off, but most important, we have to be accountable. Stop counting on everybody else. We have to be accountable for what goes on in our neighborhood and in our block. We have to be accountable.
Tia hit it on the head. It starts and ends with us.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to end it. Love y'all. Peace out.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Purely Speculation. If you learned something, share something. Please like, follow, and share this show. The more our communities know, the more they are empowered, and the faster we can create change. Purely Speculation would not be made possible without the generous support of the Community Justice Exchange, the Health Sparks Frank E. Boston Black Justice Fund, Philadelphia Foundation, and Reform Alliance. Thank you. Booyah!
Intuition different, already lived and dreamt it. Visions make my vision clear as I'm jogging through this fog of life. I beat, fall back with the fox head, body and I'm all set. Baby, can you be my Cardi?